The 12-year-old girl's fist slammed against the steel door one final time before her legs gave out. She collapsed, a 6-year-old child strapped to her back with frozen bed sheets. Blood pooled beneath her shattered wrist. Her voice cracked through chattering teeth. "Hide my sister, please. They're selling her for $150,000 tonight." The Hells Angels chapter president stared at this dying child, holding a leather ledger in trembling fingers. 23 names, 23 children, all crossed out in red ink. "How do you know?" he asked. She pulled the ledger to her chest, sobbing, "Because my uncle told the beer Sophia's nonverbal. He said she can't scream." The door opened wider. 14 bikers stepped aside. "Come inside. Now, if this story grips your heart, hit subscribe right now and stay until the very end. Drop a comment with your city. I want to see how far Maya's courage travels." The knock came at 11:34 p.m. on February 18th, and it wasn't the kind of knock you ignore. Tank Morrison heard it first. He was 52 years old, built like a truck, covered in scars from 2 wars, and a lifetime of fighting for things that mattered. He'd been sitting at the long wooden table with 13 other members of the Iron Riders chapter, going over plans for their annual Veterans fundraiser. Coffee everywhere. The kind of meeting that could stretch until dawn. But that knock stopped everything. 3 desperate pounds against a steel door. Then nothing. Then 3 more. "Weaker this time. I got it," said Reaper, the sergeant at arms. He was 38, 6'5", arms like telephone poles. The kind of man who made grown adults nervous just by existing. He pulled open the door and froze. A girl stood in the blizzard. 12 years old, maybe 13. Long black hair frozen solid against her face. Her left wrist bent at an angle that made Reaper's stomach turn. Bruises covered both cheeks. Fresh blood ran from her nose, already freezing in the wind. But that wasn't what stopped him. Strapped to her back with torn bed sheets was a smaller child. 6 years old, eyes closed, skin grey, not moving. The older girl looked up at Reaper, this massive, terrifying biker covered in tattoos, and didn't flinch, didn't cry, didn't beg. She just said 8 words. "Please hide my sister. They're selling her tonight." Then her legs gave out. Reaper caught her before she hit the ground. The weight of both children nearly took him down. "Tank," Reaper's voice cracked. "Tank now." Tank was already moving. So was Doc Ramirez, the club's medic, 45 years old. Former trauma surgeon who'd quit the hospital, watching too many administrators prioritize profit over patients. "Get them inside," Doc ordered. "Close that door, Reaper. Put them on the table. Somebody get every blanket we have now." The clubhouse exploded into controlled chaos. 14 bikers moving with military precision. Blankets appeared. The propane heater cranked to maximum. Doc's medical kit hit the table. Tank knelt beside the older girl. Her eyes were open, but barely. Hypothermia, advanced stage. Her lips were blue, her fingers white. "Hey," Tank said softly. "I'm Tank, you're safe now. What's your name?" "Maha." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Maya Torres. This is Sophia, my sister. She's 6. She's autistic. She doesn't talk. She's not dead. She's just cold. Please don't let her die. Nobody's dying tonight," Doc said, already cutting away the frozen bed sheets. "Maya, I need you to stay with me. Can you do that?" Maya nodded. Her teeth were chattering so violently she'd bitten through her lip. Doc unwrapped Sophia. The little girl's eyes opened. She didn't make a sound, just stared at the ceiling with wide dark eyes that had seen too much. "She's breathing," Doc said. "Pulse is weak but steady. Core temperature is dangerously low." "Maya, when did you leave? How long have you been walking?" "Left at 4:30 this afternoon. Walked from Mountain View Academy. 11 miles. The room went dead silent. Every man there knew that name. Mountain View Academy. The therapeutic boarding school up in the mountains. The place where rich families sent troubled kids. The place with the 8 hefty fence and security cameras every 20 feet. You escaped from Mountain View." Tank's voice was carefully controlled. "How?" Maya's hand moved to her jacket. She pulled out a small leather book, water damaged but intact. She held it out to Tank with a shaking hand. I stole this from Uncle Victor's office. It's why he's going to kill me. But I don't care. You need to see it. You need to know what he's doing. Tank took the ledger. He opened it. The first page showed a list of names, children's names, ages, next to each name, a date, a dollar amount, and a single word, transferred, 23 names total. Every single one crossed out with red ink. Tank's hands started shaking. In 30 years of hard living, combat, prison, things he wasn't proud of, he'd never once felt his hands shake. They were shaking now. Maya, he said quietly. Who's Victor? Victor Castellano, my uncle, our legal guardian. He runs Mountain View and 7 other schools. He told everyone he's helping troubled kids. But he's not. He's selling them. She started crying. Not the kind of crying a child does. The kind of crying that comes from a soul that's been holding too much for too long. Sophia isn't troubled. She's just different. She doesn't talk, but she's so smart. She draws everything she sees. She remembers everything. And that's the problem. She saw things. She knows things. And Uncle Victor can't let her tell anyone. What did she see? Doc asked gently. Wrapping Sophia in heated blankets, Maya's whole body was trembling. She saw him kill our mom. The clubhouse went absolutely still. Tank leaned forward. Say that again. 8 months ago, our mom fell down the stairs. Everyone said it was an accident. But Sophia was there. She was in her room, but her door was open. She saw Uncle Victor push Mom. She drew it. She draws everything. But she can't talk, so nobody believed her drawings. They said she was confused, traumatized, that she didn't understand what happened. Maya wiped her eyes with her good hand. But I believed her. I've always believed her. Sophia doesn't lie. She can't. She just draws truth. So I started watching Uncle Victor, and 3 weeks ago, I snuck into his office and found that ledger. 23 kids, all special needs, all transferred within the last year. And next to Sophia's name, I saw a date, February 20th. That's 2 days from now. She looked directly at Tank. Tonight, I heard him on the phone in his office. He didn't know I was listening. He told someone named Chen that the beer confirmed $150,000 overseas placement. You were grilling hamburgers. I was there with Uncle Victor and Sophia. He was doing his caring guardian act for the cameras. You saw me standing alone and you brought me a burger. You didn't ask why I looked scared. You just said, you ever need someone who doesn't play by broken rules, you find us. You wrote your number on this card and told me to keep it somewhere safe. Tank remembered a 12-year-old girl with haunted eyes, standing 20 feet from a man in an expensive suit who smiled for photos, but never once touched the children he'd brought. I kept it in my shoe. Maya continued, every single day for 6 months. And tonight, when I heard Uncle Victor on that phone call, I knew the police wouldn't help because Sheriff Kramer is Uncle Victor's friend. I knew the social workers wouldn't help because they already didn't believe Sophia's drawings. I knew nobody with power was going to listen to a kid. Her voice broke. But I remembered what you said. You don't play by broken rules. So I waited until bedtime count. I broke my window with a chair. I tied bed sheets together. I put Sophia on my back the way I've been carrying her since she was a baby. And I climbed out. The barbed wire cut my wrist. I think it broke it. But I didn't stop. I couldn't stop because if I didn't get Sophia out tonight, she'd be gone forever. She looked around at 14 bikers staring at her. I'm sorry. I know you don't know us. I know we're nobody. But you're the only people who might actually do something. You're the only ones who aren't afraid. Tank crouched down in front of her. Eye level, man-to-child. Maya, listen to me very carefully. You said you're nobody. You're wrong. As of right now, you and Sophia are family. Our family. And we protect our family. Do you understand? Maya's lip trembled. Really, really. But I need you to understand what that means. Starting tonight, the Hell's Angels are going to go to war for you. We're going to break laws. We're going to make enemies. Some of us might go to prison. We're doing it anyway. Not because we're heroes, because it's right. And because you were brave enough to knock on our door. Tears streamed down Maya's face. What if he finds us? Then he goes through 97 of us first. And that's not happening. 97. Tank smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of a man who just decided to burn down an empire. By tomorrow morning, every Hell's Angels chapter within 500 miles is going to know about you and Sophia. And they're all going to ride, because that's what we do. We ride for family. Doc finished examining Sophia. Tank, this baby needs a hospital. Her core temperature is 72. That's critical. And Maya's wrist is definitely broken. No hospitals, Maya said immediately. Uncle Victor has people at every hospital. Nurses, doctors, security. He'll know within an hour. He'll have Sheriff Kramer pick us up. We'll disappear. Tank looked at Doc. Can you treat them here? I can stabilize them. But Tank, if Sophia's temperature doesn't come up in the next 2 hours, it will. You're the best trauma surgeon in 3 states. You didn't quit because you couldn't do the work. You quit because you were tired of hospital boards stopping you from doing it right. So do it right here now. Save these kids. Doc held his eyes. Then she nodded. I need space. Everyone out except Reaper. I need his hands. Tank stood. He addressed the room. Brothers, code black effective immediately. Prospera. I need you to call every chapter president from here to the Canadian border. Tell them Iron Riders is invoking full protection protocol for 2 children. Tell them we need bodies. Lots of bodies. Tell them we need them here. By dawn, Prospera was already dialing. Ghost. I need you to find out everything about Victor Castellano. Everything. Where he lives. Where he works. Who he knows. Who he pays. Where his money comes from. I want to know what he had for breakfast and who watched him eat it. Ghost nodded and disappeared into the back room with his laptop. Brick. Axel, I need a safe house somewhere with no connection to the club. No paper trail. Somewhere nobody's going to look. I got a place, Brick said. My ex-wife's sister's cabin, 40 miles north. She owes me. No records. No utilities in anyone's name we know. It's off-grid. Perfect. Get it ready. Tank turned to the last man. Keys. I need you to do something that might get you arrested. I need you to hack into Mountain View Academy's servers. I need student records, financial records, communication logs, everything. Can you do that? Keys, 27 years old, computer genius, former NSA contractor who'd walked away when he discovered what they were really doing, grinned. Tank, I can do that in my sleep. Give me 3 hours. You have 2. Everyone scattered. Tank looked down at Martha. She was watching him with eyes that were equal parts hope and terror. Maya, Tank said quietly, I need to know something. And I need the truth. Is there anyone else? Anyone who might help? Grandparents, other relatives, teachers, anyone? Maya shook her head. Mom's parents died before I was born. Dad left when Sophia was diagnosed. He said he didn't sign up for a defective kid. We haven't seen him in 5 years. Uncle Victor is Mom's only brother. When she died, he was the only family option. Everyone thinks he's wonderful. He donates to charities. He smiles in all the photos. He says all the right things about helping troubled youth find their path. Her voice turned bitter. But it's all fake. Everything. The schools, the therapy, the caring uncle act. It's all a cover. He's a monster and he's really good at hiding it. Tank believed her. He'd spent enough years in interrogation rooms to know when someone was lying. This kid wasn't lying. She was telling a truth that was going to cost him everything. He was okay with that. How long have you been taking care of Sophia? Since Mom died. Before that, really. Mom tried. She loved us. But after Dad left, she was working 3 jobs. She was tired all the time. So I learned to do Sophia's routines. I learned her schedule. I learned what makes her feel safe and what scares her. I learned to read her drawings. I learned to be her voice. You were 11 years old. Somebody had to do it. From the medical table, Doc called out, Tank, Sophia's temperature is coming up. 78 degrees. She's going to make it. Maya's whole body sagged with relief. She tried to stand up and her legs buckled. Tank caught her. Easy. You've got hypothermia, too, and a broken wrist. You're not going anywhere. I need to see her. I need to make sure she's okay. Doc's got her. She's safe. I promise. Maya looked at him, really looked at him, searching his face for the lie. For the moment the mask would slip the way every adult's mask had slipped before. She didn't find one. Okay, she whispered. Okay. She let Tank help her to a chair. Reaper brought heated blankets. Someone put hot chocolate in her good hand. She drank it like she'd forgotten liquids existed. When did you last eat? Tank asked. Yesterday breakfast. They only feed us twice a day at the academy. Budget cuts, Uncle Victor says. But I've seen his car, his clothes, his house. There's no budget problem. He just doesn't care. Tank's hands curled into fists. He forced them open. Prosper appeared in the doorway. Tank, I got through 2 6-chapter presidents. Every single one said the same thing. How many do you need? I told them everyone. They're riding tonight. We're going to have close to 100 bikers here by sunrise. Tank nodded. This was happening. This was really happening. In the back room. Ghost shouted. Tank, you need to see this. Tank walked back. Ghost had 6 monitors going, all showing different information. Victor Castellano, Ghost said. 51 years old, runs 8 therapeutic boarding schools across Colorado, New Mexico, and Wyoming. On paper, he's a philanthropist. Big donations to children's charities, awards from 3 governors. But look at this. He pulled up financial records. These schools bring in $42 million a year tuition and state contracts. But they only spend $18 million on actual operations. That's a $24 million gap. Where's it going? Offshore accounts. 6 of them. Cayman Islands, Switzerland, Singapore. And here's where it gets interesting. Those accounts have regular outgoing transfers, always in 6-figure amounts, always to shell companies in Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, and South America. Tank's blood went cold. He's not just selling kids. He's running a network. There's more. I cross-referenced the names in Mayor's ledger with news reports. 11 of those 23 kids, their families reported them missing. But every single case was closed by the same sheriff. Let me guess. Sheriff Kramer. Bingo. Dale Kramer, 54 years old. Sheriff of Summit County for 12 years. And guess who his biggest campaign donor is? Victor Castellano. 48,000 over the last 3 election cycles. Plus, Kramer's daughter just got a full scholarship to a private college that costs $60,000 a year. Scholarship funded by the Castellano Foundation. Tank stared at the screens. This wasn't just one corrupt man. This was a system, a machine built to exploit children and silence anyone who questioned it. Tank, Ghost said quietly. If we do this, if we really go after this guy, we're not just fighting him. We're fighting everyone he's bought. Sheriffs, judges, politicians. This could destroy the club. Tank looked through the doorway. He could see Maya sitting in that chair, wrapped in blankets, watching Doc work on her sister, a 12-year-old girl who'd walked 11 miles through a blizzard because she had no one else. Then the club gets destroyed, Tank said. I can live with that. What I can't live with is doing nothing. Ghost smiled. It was a tired smile. The smile of a man who'd seen too much and done too little. Good, because I already sent everything to a contact at the FBI. Federal agent I worked with back in my D days. She owes me. She look into it. She's trustworthy, more than most. But Tank, even if the feds move fast, we're talking weeks, maybe months. And you heard Maya. Sophia's scheduled to be sold in 2 days. Then we don't wait for the feds. We move tonight. At 2:17 a.m., Doc Ramirez came out of the medical area. Her scrubs were soaked with sweat. Both girls are stable, she announced. Sophia's core temperature is back to 94. She's sleeping. I've given her 4 fluids and antibiotics as a precaution. Maya's wrist is definitely broken. Compound fracture. I've set it and splintered it. But she needs surgery within the next week or she lose mobility. And both of them are severely malnourished. This didn't happen overnight. They've been starved 4 months. Tank's jaw clenched. Can they travel in a few hours? Yes. But Tank, these children need rest, real rest. They've been through trauma that would break most adults. I know. But if Victor realizes they're gone, and he will, probably already has, he's going to mobilize everything. He's got to find them. We need them somewhere he can't reach. Somewhere we can defend, if we have to. Doc nodded. She understood. The cabin. With enough of us there to make damn sure nobody gets close. Maya appeared in the doorway. She'd refused to sleep. Is Sophia okay? She's perfect, Doc said gently. She's strong. Just like her big sister. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Can I see her? Of course. Maya walked to the table where Sophia lay sleeping. The little girl's face had color now. Her breathing was steady. Maya took her sister's hand and just held it. She stood there swaying slightly, exhausted beyond measure. And then Sophia's eyes opened. She looked at Maya, and for the first time since they'd arrived, she smiled. It was the smallest smile, just the corner of her mouth turning up, but it was there. Maya broke. She laid her head on Sophia's chest and sobbed. Not scared crying, not desperate crying. Relief, pure overwhelming relief. Tank turned away. He walked outside into the blizzard. The cold air hit his face like a fist. He stood there breathing hard, trying to control the rage building in his chest. 15 years ago, his daughter had been taken. 14 years old, walked out of school one day and never came home. The police said she ran away, but Tank knew. He knew what had happened. And 6 months later, they'd found her body in a ditch 2 states away. The system had failed her. The police, the social workers, the so-called experts, they'd all failed. And Tank had been powerless to stop it. Not this time. This time, he had the power. He had his brothers, and he had a 12-year-old girl who trusted him with the most important thing in her world. He wasn't going to fail again. Behind him, the clubhouse door opened. Reaper stepped out. First bikes just arrived. 4 from Cheyenne. More on the way. What do you want me to tell them? Tank looked at the snow falling, at the darkness, at the kind of night where monsters thought they could operate unseen. Tell them, Tank said quietly, that we're going to war, and tell them that this time the monsters lose. Inside the clubhouse, Maya held Sophia's hand and watched these terrifying men covered in leather and scars and tattoos move with the precision of soldiers preparing for battle. And for the first time in 8 months, she felt something she'd almost forgotten existed. Hope. By 3:47 that morning, the clubhouse parking lot looked like a war council. 23 motorcycles lined up in perfect formation, and more were coming. Tank could hear them in the distance. That deep rumble that meant brothers were riding through the night. Keys burst through the door, laptop under his arm, eyes bloodshot, but wild with adrenaline. I'm in, he said. Mountain View Academy's entire server. And Tank, it's worse than we thought. So much worse. Tank was at the table in 2 seconds. Show me. Keys opened the laptop. The screen filled with files. Hundreds of them. Student records, financial transactions, email communications going back 3 years. Victor's not running one operation, Keys said. Fingers flying across the keyboard. He's running 8 facilities across 3 states. Each one registered as a therapeutic boarding school. Each one receiving state funding. Each one operating the exact same way. How many kids total currently enrolled? 147. But look at this. Keys pulled up a spreadsheet. In the last 18 months, 73 children were marked as early graduation or family placement. But I cross-referenced those names with public records. 41 of them have no record of returning to their families. No school enrollment. No medical records. Nothing. They just vanished. Doc Ramirez went pale. 41 children. And it gets darker. I found communication between Victor and someone he calls the coordinator. They use code words, but it's not hard to figure out. High-functioning merchandise means kids with mild disabilities. Non-verbal inventory means kids like Sophia. International placement means exactly what Maya said. They're being sold overseas. Tank's hands curled into fists. Names. I need names. Who else is involved? Keys pulled up an email chain. Dr. Raymond Chen. He's a psychiatrist contracted by the state to evaluate children in the foster system. He's the one who provides the diagnoses that get kids sent to Victor's schools. Every single placement goes through him. He's evaluated over 200 kids in the last 2 years. He's the gatekeeper, Ghost said from across the room. He decides who's vulnerable enough to disappear. There's more. Keyes continued. Victor's been making regular payments to a judge, Patricia Marino, family court judge. She's approved 96 emergency custody placements in the last 18 months. Want to guess where those kids ended up? Victor's schools. Every single one. And here's the connection that's going to make you sick. Judge Marino's daughter works at one of Victor's facilities, Mountain View Academy. As the intake coordinator, Tank felt something cold settle in his chest. They're a family business, a trafficking family business, and they've been operating 4 years because they own the entire pipeline. Chen diagnoses, Marino places, Victor collects, and Sheriff Kramer makes sure nobody investigates too hard. The clubhouse door opened. A woman walked in, 49 years old, leather jacket, graying blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail. Behind her came 12 people, ages ranging from 19 to 35. Mama Bear, Tank said. You got here fast. Dana Whitfield, known as Mama Bear to everyone who mattered, had been running a legitimate foster care network for 15 years. She'd taken in over 60 children, raised 12 of them to adulthood, and never once stopped fighting for the ones the system forgot. You said code black. I came. She looked around the clubhouse. Where are they? Tank gestured to the back room. 2 girls, 12 and 6. They need everything. Mama Bear walked to the back room. Tank heard her voice go soft, the way it always did with traumatized children. 2 minutes later, she came back out. Her eyes were wet. That baby's been starved, Mama Bear said. And the older girl has been carrying the weight of the world so long. She doesn't remember what it's like to be a child. Can you help them? I can try. But Tank, these kids are going to need more than safe housing. They're going to need therapy, medical care, legal representation, and about 1,000 hours of someone just telling them they matter. They'll get it. All of it. One of the young men who'd come with Mama Bear stepped forward. He was 26, tattoos covering his arms, a scar running down his left cheek. I was in one of those schools, he said. Not Victor's, a different one, but same system. They told my mom I needed intensive behavioral modification. What I needed was someone to notice that my stepfather was beating me. Instead, I got sent to a place that made the abuse look like a vacation. He looked at Tank. Whatever you need, whatever it takes. I'm in, one by one. All 12 of them said the same thing. They'd all been through it. They'd all survived it. And they all wanted to make sure no other kid had too. Tank felt his throat tighten. Thank you. Outside, more motorcycles arrived. The sound was constant now. A rolling thunder that didn't stop. At 4:30 a.m., Tank's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Yeah, this is Victor Castellano. The voice was smooth, educated, absolutely calm. I believe you have something that belongs to me. Tank's blood went cold. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't insult my intelligence. Maya and Sophia Torres, 2 children who escaped from my facility tonight. I've been informed by local sources that a 12-year-old girl and a younger child were seen entering a motorcycle clubhouse on the east side of town approximately 5 hours ago. Local sources. You mean Sheriff Kramer? Victor laughed. It was the kind of laugh that made Tank want to reach through the phone. Mr. Morrison, yes, I know who you are. I'm going to make this very simple. Those children are in my legal custody. I have the paperwork signed by Judge Marino herself. If you return them immediately, I'll chalk this up to a misunderstanding. If you don't, I will bury you and your entire organization. So deep you'll never see daylight. Again, those kids aren't going anywhere near you. Then you've just made the biggest mistake of your life. The line went dead. Tank looked at Ghost. He knows, and he's got Sheriff Kramer feeding him information. So we move the girls now. They were loading Maya and Sophia into Brick's truck when Tank's phone rang again. This time, it was a number he recognized. Rachel Sawyer, defense attorney, former prosecutor who'd quit after watching her own office cover up evidence in a child abuse case. Tank, turn on the news. Channel 7 right now. Tank grabbed the remote. The TV flickered to life, and there was Victor Castellano standing on the steps of Mountain View Academy, surrounded by cameras. He looked distraught, tired, like a man who'd been up all night searching for missing children. At approximately 7 p.m. yesterday evening, Victor said, his voice breaking in all the right places, 2 children in my care disappeared. Maya Torres, 12 years old, and her sister Sophia, 6. Maya has a history of behavioral issues and violent outbursts. We believe she may have taken her sister and run away, possibly influenced by anti-authority groups. She's been communicating with online. Tank's jaw clenched. Victor continued, I'm begging anyone who sees these children, please contact authorities immediately. Maya is not well. She's been struggling with reality since her mother's tragic death. And Sophia is autistic and nonverbal. She requires specialized medical care. Without her medications, she could be in serious danger. The reporter asked, Mr. Castellano, there are rumors that the children were seen at a motorcycle clubhouse. Can you confirm? Victor's face hardened. I can confirm that we have credible information suggesting Maya made contact with a local motorcycle gang known for anti-government activism. These are not good people. These are criminals who have manipulated a troubled child into believing her family is her enemy. I'm calling on law enforcement to act immediately to rescue these children before it's too late. The screen cut back to the news anchor. Sheriff Dale Kramer has issued a statement saying his department is actively investigating and has obtained a warrant to search the Iron Riders motorcycle clubhouse. More on this developing story as it unfolds. Tank turned off the TV. The room was absolutely silent. Then Maya's voice came from the doorway. She'd heard everything. Her face was white. He's doing it again, she whispered. He's making everyone think I'm crazy, just like he did after Mom died. Just like he did when I tried to tell people about Sophia's drawings. He's so good at it. He makes everyone believe him. Tank walked over to her. Maya, look at me. She looked up, tears streaming down her face. Do you trust me? Yes. Then trust me when I tell you this. He can control what the news says. He can control what Sheriff Kramer does. But he cannot control us. And we're not playing his game anymore. We're playing ours. At 5:15 a.m., Sheriff Kramer's convoy pulled up to the clubhouse. 6 squad cars, 12 deputies. The sheriff himself standing in front with a warrant in his hand and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. But he wasn't expecting what he found. 97 Hells Angels standing in perfect formation, 3 rows deep, silent, and moving. The girls were already gone, moved to Brick's ex-sister-in-law's cabin 40 miles north. But Kramer didn't need to know that. I have a warrant, Kramer announced, holding up the paper, to search these premises and to take custody of Maya and Sophia Torres. Tank stepped forward. You have a warrant to search. You don't have a warrant to enter. This is private property, and you're going to need a lot more than 12 deputies to get through us. Kramer's smile disappeared. You're interfering with a law enforcement operation. I'm exercising my constitutional rights. You want a search? Show me the warrant. Let me call my lawyer. Then we'll talk about what you're allowed to do and what you're going to regret trying. Those children are in danger. Those children were in danger from the man who hired you to find them, from the judge who placed them in his custody, from the system that ignored every red flag because it was easier than doing the right thing. But they're not in danger anymore because we actually give a damn. Kramer's hand moved to his gun. Step aside. 97 bikers didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even blink. Tank's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. You pull that weapon, Sheriff, and every camera phone in this crowd starts recording. And tomorrow morning, the whole world gets to watch a corrupt sheriff threaten unarmed citizens who are protecting children from a human trafficker. How do you think that plays out for you? Kramer's hand moved away from his gun. I want those children. They're not here. Then where are they? Somewhere you'll never find them. Somewhere safe. Somewhere with people who actually care whether they live or die. The standoff lasted 7 hours. Kramer called for backup. More deputies arrived. Then state police. The media showed up. Cameras everywhere. The news helicopters circling overhead. And through it all, 97 Hell's Angels stood their ground. They didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there. A human wall between the system and to children who'd been failed by it their whole lives. At noon, a black Mercedes pulled up. A woman got out, 60 years old, grey suit, briefcase in hand, and an expression that could cut glass. "My name is Catherine Hayes," she announced to the crowd. "I am a federal attorney. I have an emergency injunction from the Colorado District Court, ordering all law enforcement to cease operations regarding Maya and Sophia Torres pending a full federal investigation into allegations of corruption and human trafficking." She handed the papers to Sheriff Kramer. His face went from red to purple. "This is ridiculous. These children are now under federal protection," Catherine interrupted. "As of 20 minutes ago, the FBI opened a formal investigation into Victor Castellano, Judge Patricia Marino, Dr. Raymond Chen, and you, Sheriff. So I suggest you get very comfortable with the idea that your career is over." Kramer looked at the papers, looked at Catherine, looked at 97 bikers who hadn't moved in 7 hours. "This isn't over," he said. "Yes," Catherine replied. "It is." The squad cars left. The media scrambled for statements, and Tank finally allowed himself to breathe. Catherine walked up to him. "Nice job not punching anyone." "It was close. I know. I watched the whole thing from my car. If you'd thrown one punch, the injunction would have been worthless. How did you get involved?" "Ghost called an old friend. The old friend called me. I called in every favor I've collected in 35 years of practicing law. And I'm going to need to talk to those girls soon. They're safe. I'll arrange it." Catherine studied his face. "Why are you doing this, Tank? You could lose everything. The club, your freedom, your life. Why risk it for 2 kids you don't know?" Tank looked at the clubhouse, at his brothers, who'd stood for 7 hours without complaining, at the young adults who'd come with Mama Bear, survivors of the same system that had destroyed their childhoods. "Because someone has to," he said simply. "And because 15 years ago, nobody did it for my daughter." Catherine's expression softened. "I heard about that. I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry. Just win this case." 40 miles away at the cabin, Maya sat on the floor with Sophia. The little girl was drawing. She always drew. It was how she processed the world. Mama Bear watched from the doorway. She'd been a foster parent long enough to recognize trauma in all its forms, but she'd never seen a bond quite like this. The way Maya anticipated Sophia's every need. The way Sophia trusted Maya completely. Absolutely without question. She's been raising that baby since she was born, hasn't she? Mama Bear asked Doc, since their father left. Maya was 7 years old, and she became Sophia's primary caretaker. No 7-year-old should have that responsibility, but she did it anyway, and she did it well. Sophia finished her drawing. She held it up to Maya. Maya's breath caught. The drawing showed 2 girls holding hands, and behind them, standing in a circle, were dozens of people. People with motorcycles, people with kind faces, people who looked like they were protecting the girls. At the bottom, Sophia had drawn a single word, not written, drawn in a careful, precise way. The word was safe. Maya pulled Sophia into her arms. "Yeah, baby. We're safe, finally." And for the first time in 8 months, Maya believed it. At the clubhouse, Tank's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You think you've won? You haven't. Those children have information that will destroy everything I've built. I'll get them back. And when I do, they'll disappear so completely. Not even you'll find them. This is your last warning." V-Tank showed the text to Ghost. "He's desperate. Desperate people make mistakes, or they burn everything down rather than lose. So what do we do?" Tank looked at the text again. at the threat, at the promise of violence against the children who'd already survived too much. "We go on a fence," Tank said. "Victor wants to threaten my family. Then I'm going to take everything he loves and watch it burn." Ghost smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Now you're talking my language." Keys appeared with his laptop. "Tank, I found something in Victor's emails. He scheduled a meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. location listed as the usual place." I cross-referenced his calendar. The usual place is a private office in Denver. And guess who else has meetings at that same location? Judge Marino and Dr. Chen, and 3 other people whose names appear in the financial records as consultants. Tank, they're all meeting tomorrow. Every single person in the trafficking network in one room. Tank stared at the screen. "Can you get us access to that building?" "I can get you access to anywhere. But Tank, if you're thinking what I think you're thinking ... I'm thinking," Tank said quietly, "that tomorrow afternoon, the whole conspiracy is going to walk into a room together. And I'm thinking that's the kind of opportunity that doesn't come twice." Doc Ramirez walked over. "Tank, Maya's asking for you. She wants to tell you something. Says it's important." Tank found Maya sitting in the back room, wrapped in a blanket. Sophia asleep against her shoulder. "Hey kid, what's up?" Maya looked at him with those 2 old eyes. "I never told anyone this. Not the police, not social workers, nobody. But I'm going to tell you, okay? Uncle Victor didn't just kill my mom. He killed another woman, too. 2 years ago. Her name was Jennifer Park. She worked at one of his schools. She found something, some kind of evidence. She told Uncle Victor she was going to the police. 3 days later, she drove off a cliff. Everyone said it was an accident. Slippery roads, bad weather." Maya's voice dropped to a whisper. "But Sophia drew it. She draws everything she sees on TV, everything she hears people talk about. And she drew Jennifer Park's car. And she drew another car behind it, pushing it. And the other car had Uncle Victor's license plate number, the same one he's had 4 years. Sophia remembers his numbers perfectly. She drew it exactly right." Tank went absolutely still. "Do you still have that drawing?" "I kept all of Sophia's drawings. I hid them in a box under my bed at the Forster home before we went to the academy. If they're still there, that drawing is proof. Proof that Uncle Victor is a murderer." "Where's the Forster home?" 42 Maple Street, the Hendersons. "But they might have thrown everything away when we left." Tank pulled out his phone. He called Ghost. "I need you to get to 42 Maple Street. Look for a box under a bed in a room that belonged to 2 girls. Inside that box are drawings. We need all of them tonight." "On it." Tank looked at Maya. "Why didn't you tell anyone before?" "Because nobody believed Sophia's drawings meant anything. They said she was just a kid with autism who drew random things. They said it didn't prove anything. But I knew. I always knew." She started crying. "I tried to tell people. I tried so hard. I told my teacher. I told the social worker. I told the police officer who came to our house after Mom died. I showed them Sophia's drawings. And they all smiled and patted my head and said I was a very imaginative child dealing with grief. Nobody listened. Nobody ever listens to kids." Tank crouched down in front of her. "I'm listening, Maya, and I believe you. And tomorrow we're going to make sure everyone else listens too." Maya wiped her eyes. "Promise, blood oath," Tank said. "From this moment until my last breath, I promise you that nobody will ever ignore your voice again. Not while I'm alive." And in that moment, something shifted. Maya had spent 8 months trying to save her sister while carrying secrets that would destroy empires. She'd been called a liar, dismissed as troubled, ignored by every adult who should have protected her. But this biker, this scarred, tattooed man who looked like every parent's nightmare, believed her completely without question. "Thank you," Maya whispered, "for opening the door that night, for not turning us away." Tank's eyes burned. "Kid, you saved yourself. You were brave enough to knock. We just made sure someone answered." At 2 a.m., Ghost returned with a cardboard box. Inside were dozens of drawings, Sophia's entire visual diary of the last 3 years. They spread them out on the table. Keyes photographed every single one, and there it was, the drawing Maya had described. A car going off a cliff, another car behind it pushing, a license plate number rendered in Sophia's precise, careful hand, a date in the corner, 2 years ago, 3 days after Jennifer Park told Victor Castellano she was going to the police. This is evidence of murder, Catherine Hayes said. She'd stayed at the clubhouse knowing things were about to escalate. With this and the financial records, we've got enough to bring RICO charges, racketeering, conspiracy, murder, human trafficking. Victor Castellano is going to die in prison. Good, Tank said. Because tomorrow we're making sure he knows it. The meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. at the Riverside Executive Center in downtown Denver. Keyes had pulled the building schematics, security protocols, and visitor logs going back 6 months. Victor Castellano rented a private conference room, the 8th floor, under the name of a shell company, Summit Educational Consulting. He's been using that room twice a month for the last year, Keyes said, pointing at his screen. Always the same day, always the same time. And look at the names on the visitor logs. Tank leaned in. Judge Patricia Marino, Dr. Raymond Chen, 3 other names he didn't recognize. But that Ghost had already identified as lawyers, accountants, and what Ghost called logistics coordinators, people who arrange transportation for the children being trafficked. They're meeting today to discuss damage control, Catherine Hayes said. She'd been on the phone with her FBI contact for the last hour. Victor knows Maya has his ledger. He knows she's talking. He's panicking. And when criminals panic, they either run or they consolidate. My guess is he's called this meeting to figure out how to make the problem disappear. The problem being my kids, Tank said flatly. Exactly. And that makes this meeting very dangerous for Maya and Sophia. If Victor and his people decide the only solution is elimination, they'll move fast. Mama Bear had been quiet, sitting in the corner with her arms crossed. Now she spoke up. So we hit them first. Catherine turned. I can't legally advise you to do anything that... I'm not asking for legal advice, Mama Bear interrupted. I'm saying that, if these people are planning to hurt children, we don't wait for them to make the first move. We end it today. Tank looked at her. What are you thinking? I'm thinking that Sophia's drawings are evidence, legal, admissible evidence, and I'm thinking that if the FBI walks into that meeting with those drawings, with the financial records, with everything Keyes pulled from the servers, those people don't walk out. Catherine was already shaking her head. The FBI needs time, warrants, coordination, proper procedure. We're talking hours, maybe days. We don't have days, Tank said. Victor sent me a text last night. He's coming for the girls. If we wait for procedure, they'll be dead. The room went silent. Ghost stood up. I have an idea. It's probably illegal, definitely dangerous, but it'll work. I'm listening. Keyes can access the building's security system. We get into that conference room before they arrive. We wire it for audio and video. We record everything they say, every plan, every admission, every order to harm those children. Then we send it to the FBI, the media, and every news outlet in the state simultaneously. They can't cover it up if everyone knows. That's wiretapping without a warrant, Catherine said. Anything recorded would be inadmissible in court. Maybe in court, Ghost countered, but not in the court of public opinion. And if the FBI hears Victor Castellano ordering a hit onto children, warrant or no warrant, they'll move. Tank looked at Keyes. Can you do it? Keyes grinned. I can do it in my sleep, but someone needs to physically place the devices. Building has cameras everywhere, security guards. I can loop the footage for 15 minutes, maybe 20. After that, you're on your own. I'll do it, Reaper said. No, Tank said. I'm doing it. This is my fight. It's our fight, Reaper corrected. You taught me that family protects family. And those kids are family now. Tank wanted to argue, but looking at Reaper's face, stubborn, determined, absolutely certain, he knew it would be pointless. These men weren't followers. They were brothers. And brothers didn't let you walk into danger alone. Fine. But you take Ghost with you. And if anything goes wrong, you run. No heroics, just run. At 11 a.m., Tank's phone rang. It was a number he didn't recognize, but he answered anyway. Mr. Morrison. The voice was female, clipped, professional. My name is Agent Lisa Reeves, FBI. I understand you've been in contact with Catherine Hayes regarding allegations against Victor Castellano. That's right. I need to speak with Maya Torres as soon as possible. She's a material witness to multiple federal crimes, and her testimony is critical to building a case. She's 12 years old, and she's been through hell. I'm not putting her in front of anyone until I know she's protected. I understand your concern, but Mr. Morrison, if Maya has information about Victor Castellano's operations, every hour we delay is another hour he uses to cover his tracks. I've already opened a formal investigation. I have agents ready to move, but I need Maya's statement. Tank looked across the room. Maya was sitting with Sophia reading her a book. The little girl was leaning against her sister, eyes half closed, finally looking like a child instead of a trauma survivor. She talked to you, Tank said, but on our terms, our location, and I'm in the room the whole time. Agreed. Where and when? The cabin. I'll text you the address. 1 hour. He hung up and walked over to Maya. Hey kid, FBI agent wants to talk to you. You up for that? Maya's face went pale. What if she doesn't believe me either? She believe you. I promise. And I'll be right there. If you need me to stop the interview, you say the word and it's done. You're in control here. Always. Maya took a deep breath. Okay, I'll do it. But Sophia stays with Mama Bear. I don't want her hearing all of this again. Done. Agent Reeves arrived exactly 1 hour later. She was 43 years old, 17 years with the FBI, and she'd spent the last 5 years working child exploitation cases. She'd seen things that would break most people. But when she walked into that cabin and saw Maya, this tiny 12-year-old girl with a splintered wrist and bruises covering her face, something in her expression shifted. Hi, Maya, Agent Reeves said gently. Thank you for agreeing to talk to me. I know this is hard. Maya nodded. She'd barely slept. Her eyes were red and swollen. Before we start, Agent Reeves continued, I want you to understand something. Everything you tell me matters. Your words have power. And I'm going to use that power to make sure Victor Castellano never hurts another child. But I need you to tell me the truth. All of it. Even the parts that scare you. Can you do that? Yes. For the next 90 minutes, Maya told her everything. The night her mother died, Sophia's drawings, the months of trying to get someone to listen, being placed with Victor after he became her guardian, the academy, the ledger, the phone call about Sophia being sold, the escape through the blizzard. Agent Reeves recorded every word, took notes, asked clarifying questions, and the more Maya talked, the angrier Agent Reeves' expression became. Maya, Agent Reeves said when they were done, do you still have access to that ledger? Tank has it and Sophia's drawings. All of them. Agent Reeves turned to Tank. I need those now. Tank handed over the ledger and the box of drawings. Agent Reeves went through them methodically, photographing each page, each drawing, building her case piece by piece. When she got to Sophia's drawing of Jennifer Park's car being pushed off the cliff, she stopped. This is evidence of murder, she said quietly. Maya, you said Sophia drew this 2 years ago. Yes, 3 days after Miss Park died. Sophia saw it on the news. She always draws what she sees on TV. She remembers everything perfectly. Agent Reeves pulled out her phone and made a call. I need you to pull the Jennifer Park case file. 2 years ago, single vehicle accident ruled accidental. I have evidence suggesting it was homicide. Yes, I'm serious. Get me everything. She hung up and looked at Tank. I'm going to be straight with you. What you've given me is enough to arrest Victor Castellano. But arrests are one thing. Convictions are another. His lawyers are going to argue that Maya is an unreliable witness, that she's been coached by you. Then she paused and added, what I heard is that you have information about the location of a meeting where multiple suspects in a federal trafficking investigation will be gathered. And if I happen to conduct surveillance of that location in legal means and happen to witness criminal activity, that would give me grounds for immediate arrest. She pulled out a business card and wrote something on the back. This is the direct number to my tactical team. If anything goes wrong at that meeting, you call this number. And Tank, whatever you're planning, don't get caught, because if you do, I can't help you. At 1:15 p.m., Ghost and Reaper walked into the Riverside Executive Center dressed in business suits. Keys had created fake IDs, identifying them as IT contractors hired to upgrade the building's network infrastructure. Security barely glanced at them. They took the elevator to the 8th floor, walked to conference room 804, and used the access code Keys had pulled from the building's system. The room was empty. Long table, 12 chairs, windows overlooking downtown Denver. Ghost pulled 4 tiny wireless cameras from his bag and placed them in the ceiling vents, the wall clock, and the corner of a bookshelf. Reaper set up audio receivers disguised as electrical outlets. They were done in 8 minutes. On their way out, they passed a woman in the hallway, 60 years old, grey suit, cold eyes. Judge Patricia Marino. She looked at them without recognition and kept walking. Ghost and Reaper didn't speak until they were back in the truck 3 blocks away. She's early, Ghost said. We need to warn Tank. But before he could make the call, Key's voice came through the radio. We've got a problem. Big problem. Sheriff Kramer just showed up at the cabin with 6 deputies, and he's got an arrest warrant for Tank. Tank's blood went cold. For what? Kidnapping. Victor filed charges this morning. Says you abducted Maya and Sophia from his lawful custody. Judge Marino signed the warrant an hour ago. I'm not at the cabin. The girls and Mama Bear are, I know. Which means Kramer's about to figure out you're not there. And when he does, he's going to start tearing this town apart looking for you. Tank looked at Agent Reeves. She was already on her phone talking fast and angry to someone at the FBI. Stall him, Tank told Keys. I don't care how. Just give me 30 minutes. On it. Agent Reeves hung up. I can't get a federal judge to vacate that warrant in 30 minutes. But I can get agents to the cabin to observe. If Kramer steps out of line, if he threatens those children, we've got him. That's not enough. He'll take the girls. He'll hand them to Victor. And by the time your agents do anything, Maya and Sophia will be gone. Tank's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You're out of time. Surrender the children now, or I will burn everything you love to the ground, starting with them. Tank showed the text to Agent Reeves. Her face went white. That's a direct threat. Tank, I need to get those girls into federal protective custody right now. No, they've been in the system their whole lives. Every time they trusted it, it failed them. I'm not handing them over to another stranger in a suit who makes promises she might not keep. I'm not the system. I'm the person trying to fix it. But I can't do that if Victor kills them first. Maya's voice came from the doorway. She'd been listening. I'll go. Everyone turned. Maya. No, Tank started. I'll go into protective custody. But only if Sophia stays with Mama Bear. Only if you promise she doesn't go back into foster care. And only if Tank can visit us whenever we want. Agent Reeves nodded. I can make that happen. All of it. Then let's go before Sheriff Kramer gets here. At 1:58 p.m., Victor Castellano walked into conference room 804. He was followed by Judge Marino, Dr. Chen, and 4 other people Ghost had identified as key players in the trafficking network. Keys had the audio feed running. Tank, Agent Reeves, Ghost, and Catherine Hayes listened from a van 2 blocks away. Victor's voice came through crystal clear. Thank you all for coming on short notice. We have a situation that requires immediate action. The Torres girls, Judge Marino said. It wasn't a question. Exactly. Maya has my ledger. She's given it to the FBI, and her sister's drawings are apparently being used as evidence in Jennifer Park's death investigation. Silence. Then Dr. Chen spoke. How is that possible? Park died 2 years ago. The case was closed. The autistic child drew it. Apparently, she has perfect visual recall, and the FBI is taking it seriously. That's insane. Judge Marino snapped. A child's drawing isn't evidence. It is when it shows my license plate number and the exact location where Park went off the road. The feds are reopening the investigation, which means all of us are at risk. One of the other men spoke. Tank didn't recognize his voice. What are you proposing? Victor's answer was cold and clear. Elimination. Both girls. The motorcycle gang protecting them. Anyone who's seen the evidence. We clean it up completely tonight. Agent Reeves was already radioing her tactical team. All units, move in now. Active threat. Conspiracy to commit murder. I want everyone in that room in custody in the next 2 minutes. But before the agents could reach the building, Dr. Chen said something that made everyone in the van freeze. There are 41 other children, Victor. The ones we've already placed. If the FBI starts digging into their cases, we're all going to prison for life. Then we move them tonight. Every single placement gets relocated. Different countries, different identities. By the time the feds figure out where to look, those kids will be ghosts. Tank's hands curled into fists. 41 children about to be moved. About to disappear forever. Agent Reeves was shouting into a radio. I need agents at every location Victor Castellano operates. Every school, every facility, everything. Nobody moves any children. Nobody. In the conference room, Victor was still talking. Judge Marino, I need you to issue custody orders for all 41 emergency placements. Make it look legitimate. That's dozens of court orders. It'll take weeks. You have 6 hours. After that, we're moving them anyway with or without paperwork. And the Torres girls. This was Sheriff Kramer's voice. He joined the meeting. The biker gang is at a cabin 40 miles north. I've got the location. You take 6 men. You go in tonight. Make it look like a robbery gone wrong. No survivors. Tank stopped breathing. Agent Reeves grabbed his arm. Don't. My team is already moving. We've got them. You heard him. He's sending Kramer to kill everyone at that cabin. Mama Bear is there. Sophia is there. How fast can your team move? They're 3 minutes out from the cabin. But Tank, if you go running up there right now, you'll blow the entire operation. Tank looked at her. Those are my people. That's my family. I'm not sitting in a van while they're in danger. He was out the door before anyone could stop him. Ghost was right behind him. Tank, wait. You heard Kramer. He's going tonight. That means he's going now. By the time the FBI gets there, he'll already be moving. So what are you going to do? Tank pulled out his phone and made a call. The line was answered on the first ring. Mama Bear, Kramer's coming tonight with 6 men. He's got orders to kill everyone. Mama Bear's voice was steady. How long do I have? Maybe an hour, maybe less. Then I'm moving the girls right now. Where? Somewhere, even you don't know. That way if they catch you, you can't tell them. Tank wanted to argue, but Mama Bear was right. Do it. And Mama Bear, don't trust anyone except Ghost and Reaper. Not the FBI, not the local police. Nobody. I won't, Tank. Those kids are going to be okay. I promise you. The line went dead. Back at the Riverside Executive Center, the FBI was storming conference room 804. Victor Castellano looked up as 12 agents poured through the door. Weapons drawn. Victor Castellano, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, human trafficking, and racketeering. Everyone in this room. Hands where I can see them. Judge Marino tried to run. She made it 3 steps before an agent tackled her. Dr. Chen put his hands up immediately. I want a lawyer. Sheriff Kramer reached for his weapon. I'm law enforcement. You can't. Put the weapon down now. Agent Reeves had her gun trained on him. You're not law enforcement anymore. You're a suspect in a federal trafficking investigation. Gun on the ground. Hands behind your head. Kramer's face went purple with rage, but he put the gun down. Victor Castellano didn't move, didn't speak, just stared at Agent Reeves with cold, dead eyes. You have no idea what you've just done, he said quietly. The people I work for don't forgive mistakes like this. Then I suggest you start talking, Agent Reeves said, because the people you work for are about to have much bigger problems than you. Within 15 minutes. All 7 people in that conference room were in custody. Within 30 minutes, FBI agents were raiding all 8 of Victor's facilities. Within an hour, they'd recovered 41 children, but Maya and Sophia were already gone. Mama Bear had moved them the second she hung up with Tank, and when Agent Reeves called to inform her that the girls were now officially under federal protection, Mama Bear's response was simple: come find us. When you can promise me that every single person who hurt these children is behind bars and staying there, we'll talk. Until then, those girls are safer with me than they've ever been with your system. And she hung up. Tank smiled when he heard. Mama Bear had been in the foster system long enough to know that promises from authorities meant nothing until they were proven with action. The girls would be safe, hidden, protected by people who actually gave a damn. And Victor Castellano would spend the rest of his life in a cell, knowing he'd been brought down by a 12-year-old girl who refused to give up and a 6-year-old who drew the truth nobody wanted to see. But Victor Castellano's arrest didn't end the nightmare. It made it worse. 72 hours after the raid, Tank got a phone call from Agent Reeves. Her voice was tight with controlled fury. Victor made bail. Tank's hand tightened on the phone. How the hell did he make bail on human trafficking and murder conspiracy charges? A lawyer from a firm in New York posted to $1 million cash. The judge set conditions: ankle monitor, surrendered passport, house arrest. But Tank, he's out. And the second he walked out of that courthouse, he disappeared. What do you mean disappeared? I mean he cut off his ankle monitor 20 minutes after leaving federal custody. We've got agents at his house, his office, every property he owns. He's not at any of them. He's in the wind. Tank felt ice run through his veins. He's going after the girls. That's what I'm afraid of. Tank, I need to know where Mama Bear took them, right now. Because if Victor finds them before we do, I don't know. Mama Bear said it was safer that way. And she was right. Then we need to find Mama Bear fast because Victor's not working alone anymore. We arrested his network, but he told us the truth in that conference room. He works for other people, bigger people. And those people just spent $2 million to get him out. They didn't do that so he could sit in a hotel room. They did it so he could clean up the mess. Tank was already moving, grabbing his keys, his jacket. I'll find them. Tank, wait. There's something else. One of Victor's associates, a man named Marcus Webb, we picked him up during the raids. He's talking, wants a deal, and what he's saying is going to change everything. I'm listening. Victor's operation wasn't just about selling children. It was about control. These kids, the ones with disabilities, the ones in the foster system, the ones nobody's watching, they were being used as leverage against their families. Parents who wouldn't cooperate with certain business deals. Witnesses who saw things they shouldn't have seen. People who needed to be silenced. Victor would take their kids, place them in his facilities, and suddenly those parents became very cooperative. Tank's stomach turned. How many? Webb says at least 70 families over the last 5 years. Some paid ransoms disguised as tuition. Some were blackmailed into silence. Some were threatened with losing their kids permanently if they didn't comply. And the ones who fought back, let me guess, their kids disappeared. Exactly. Victor's 23 crossed out names in that ledger. Those weren't just trafficking victims. Those were messages. Examples of what happens when you don't cooperate. Jesus Christ, there's more. Webb gave us names. The people Victor works for. And Tank, this goes higher than we thought. State senators, federal judges, CEOs of major corporations. We're talking about a network that's been operating for a decade. Tank leaned against his truck, trying to process it. How did nobody notice? Because they were careful. They targeted the most vulnerable. Foster kids, kids with disabilities, kids from poor families who couldn't afford lawyers. The system was designed to fail these children. Victor just exploited it better than anyone else. Agent Reeves' voice dropped. And Tank, one of the names Webb gave us, Sheriff Kramer's boss, the county commissioner who appointed him. He's been on Victor's payroll for 8 years, which means every complaint, every investigation, Every case that could have stopped this, it was buried from the top down. Tank felt rage building in his chest. Pure white-hot rage. Where's Kramer now? Federal holding. He's not talking. But we've got enough to put him away for 30 years. Even without his cooperation. Good. Because if I see him right now, I'm going to do something that gets me arrested. Tank, I need you to focus. Victor is out there. He's desperate. And desperate men with nothing to lose are the most dangerous. Find those girls. Protect them. Let us handle Victor. Tank hung up and immediately called Ghost. Victor's out. We need to find Mama Bear and the girls now. Ghost was quiet for a moment. Tank, I might know where they are. What? 3 days ago. Mama Bear called me. Didn't say where she was, but I heard something in the background. A train whistle. Specific pattern. I used to run freight routes back in the day. That whistle pattern only exists in one place in Colorado. Where? Junction City. Little town about 90 miles west. Population 300. One stoplight. The kind of place where strangers get noticed, but nobody asks questions if you keep to yourself. You sure? 90%. It's the only place that makes sense. Remote enough to hide. Small enough that she'd hear if anyone came looking. Close enough that we could get there if things went bad. Tank was already in his truck. I'm going. You coming? Already on my bike. They rode out together. Tank in his truck. Ghost on his Holly. Behind them, 12 more Hell's Angels fell into formation. Nobody had called them. Nobody had asked. They just showed up when Ghost made the call. Because that's what family did. 90 miles. Tank drove it in 70 minutes, pushing his truck past every speed limit, past every rational thought, driven by a single certainty. Those girls needed protection. And he wasn't going to fail them. Junction City appeared like a ghost town. Main Street, a diner, a gas station, and a post office. That was it. Tank pulled into the diner parking lot. The only other vehicle was a beat-up Honda with Wyoming plates. Inside, the diner was empty except for a waitress who looked about 70 and the man sitting alone in a corner booth. Tank recognized him immediately. One of the young men who'd come with Mama Bear that first night. Former foster kid, 26 years old, with the scared eyes of someone who'd been through hell. The young man looked up, saw Tank, and his whole body relaxed. She said you'd figure it out eventually. Where are they? 5 miles north. Old ranch house. Tank found Mama Bear on the porch, shotgun resting across her lap. FBI called me 6 times. I didn't answer. Mama Bear, this isn't a game. He's coming for them. Let him come. He'll find out what happens when you threaten my family. Tank walked up the porch steps. I need to see them. I need to know they're okay. Mama Bear studied his face. Then she nodded. They're inside. But Tank, Maya's not doing well. She's been having nightmares, panic attacks. The reality of what almost happened is catching up with her. And Sophia, that baby is stronger than all of us combined. She's been drawing page after page. It's like she's processing everything through her art. Inside, Maya was sitting on a couch wrapped in a blanket, staring at nothing. Sophia was on the floor with crayons and paper spread out around her. When Maya saw Tank, something in her face cracked. She stood up and ran to him, throwing her arms around his waist and holding on like he was the only solid thing in a world that wouldn't stop shaking. He's out, Maya whispered. I heard Mama Bear on the phone. Uncle Victor's out and he's looking for us and I can't do this anymore. I can't keep running. Tank crouched down, so they were eye level. Then we stop running. Starting right now. We stand our ground. How? He's got lawyers and money and people who help him. We've got nothing. We've got the truth. We've got your voice. We've got Sophia's drawings. And we've got 97 people who are willing to fight a war to keep you safe. What if it's not enough? Tank took her hands. Maya, listen to me. 2 weeks ago, you were a 12-year-old girl with no power, no voice, and no hope. Now, you've brought down a human trafficking network. You've gotten a sheriff arrested. You've saved 41 children. You've exposed corruption that goes all the way to the state capitol. You did that. A kid all by yourself. I wasn't by myself. I had you. and you still have me. You always will. But kid, you need to understand something. I didn't save you. You saved yourself. You were brave enough to knock on our door. Brave enough to tell the truth. Brave enough to steal that ledger and walk 11 miles through a blizzard. That wasn't me. That was you. Maya's eyes filled with tears. I'm scared, I know. Being scared means you understand what's at stake. But Maya, fear doesn't mean you can't fight. It means you fight anyway. So fear appeared beside them. She was holding a piece of paper. She handed it to Tank. It was a drawing. A house surrounded by motorcycles. And in front of the house, a little girl holding hands with a bigger girl, both of them smiling. At the top of the page, Sophia had drawn one word in a careful, precise way. Home. Tank's eyes burned. Yeah, kiddo, you're home. That night, Agent Reeves called with news that made everyone in the ranch house go silent. We found Victor. Where? Heading west on I-70. But Tank, he's not alone. We've identified the vehicle he's in. It belongs to a private security company based in New York. The same company that posted his bail. We're tracking 3 additional vehicles moving in formation with him. All headed in your direction. Tank looked out the window at the darkness. How far? 90 minutes. Maybe less. Tank, I've got federal agents mobilizing, but they're 2 hours out. You need to move those girls now. I'm not running anymore. You said it yourself. Victor's people have resources. If we run, they'll find us. If we run, this never ends. So we stop running. We make a stand right here. Tank, there are at least 12 armed men heading your way. You don't have the firepower to. I've got 97 Hell's Angels who've been waiting for permission to end this. I'd say that's enough firepower. Tank hung up and turned to Mama Bear. Get the girls to the basement. Don't come up no matter what you hear. Can you do that? Mama Bear's jaw was set. I can do that. But Tank, if this goes wrong it won't. Because we've got something Victor doesn't. We've got something worth fighting for. He made the call. The one he'd been hoping he wouldn't have to make. But now there was no choice. Brothers, this is Tank. Code Black has escalated. Victor Castellano is coming with armed men. I need everyone. I need you here. I need you now. The response was immediate. Engines starting, bikes rolling, men and women dropping everything and riding into the night. Within 40 minutes, the ranch house was surrounded, not by Victor's people, by Hell's Angels, 97 of them, standing in perfect formation, headlights illuminating the darkness, engines rumbling like thunder. Ghost stood beside Tank. This is insane. We're outnumbered, outgunned. If shooting starts, people die. Then we make sure shooting doesn't start. We make them see that getting to those girls means going through all of us. And we make them decide if the children are worth that price. At exactly 11:47 p.m., 3 black SUVs rolled up the dirt road. They stopped 50 yards from the house. Doors opened. 12 men got out, all armed, all wearing tactical gear. And from the lead vehicle, Victor Castellano emerged. He walked forward slowly, hands raised in a gesture of peace, but his eyes were cold, dead. Mr. Morrison, Victor called out. I just want to talk. We're done talking. I think you misunderstand the situation. Those children are legally in my custody. I have court documents. I have the law on my side. You're the ones breaking it. Your custody was revoked the second you got arrested for human trafficking. My charges will be dropped. My lawyers are already working on it. Illegal wiretap. Inadmissible evidence. It's all falling apart, Morrison. By next week, I'll be a free man. And those girls will be returned to me. Tank stepped forward. The 97 bikers behind him was one. That's not happening. Victor smiled. It was the smile of a man who believed he'd already won. You're going to start a war over 2 children you've known for less than 2 weeks. No, Tank said quietly. We're going to end one. You've been terrorizing kids 4 years, selling them, killing them, using them as leverage. That ends tonight, one way or another. You have no idea what you're dealing with. The people I work for are about to find out what happens when 97 Hell's Angels decide they've had enough. Victor's expression changed. The confident mask slipped. And underneath it was something Tank recognized. Fear. You're bluffing, Victor said. You won't risk your club for 2 kids. Try us for 10 seconds. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The tension was so thick Tank could taste it. Then Victor's phone rang. He answered it, listened for a moment, and his face went white. What do you mean, all of them? Victor hissed into the phone. How is that possible? He listened longer, then he hung up. When he looked at Tank again, something had broken behind his eyes. You won, Victor said flatly. Webb gave you everyone. The feds just arrested 17 people, senators, judges, my entire network. They froze all my accounts, shut down all my facilities. It's over. Good. But those girls are still mine legally. And I will get them back. Tank shook his head. No, you won't, because tomorrow morning, Maya is testifying before a federal grand jury, and Sophia's drawings are being entered as evidence in Jennifer Park's murder case. By tomorrow afternoon, you'll be charged with first-degree murder. And there's no bail for that. Victor's hands clenched into fists. Those children have destroyed everything I built. Good. Because everything you built deserved to be destroyed. For a moment, Tank thought Victor might charge. Might try to fight his way through 97 bikers to get to the house. But then the sound of sirens filled the night. FBI vehicles poured onto the property from every direction. Agent Reeves stepped out, weapon drawn. Victor Castellano, you're under arrest for violating the conditions of your bail and for conspiracy to commit murder. Down on the ground now. Victor didn't move. He just stared at the ranch house where Maya and Sophia were hidden. They're just children, he said. To worthless children. And they took everything from me. No, Tank said. You took everything from yourself. Those kids just made sure everyone knew it. Victor was handcuffed and dragged away. His 12 armed men surrendered without a fight. And as the FBI vehicles drove away, Tank walked back to the ranch house. He went to the basement door and knocked. Mama Bear, it's over. You can come out. The door opened. Maya appeared. Sophia in her arms. Both of them crying. Both of them safe. Is he gone? Maya asked. He's gone for good this time. Maya collapsed against Tank, holding Sophia tight. We did it. We actually did it. You did it, kid. You and your sister. You saved yourselves. We just made sure nobody stopped you. And for the first time since her mother died, Maya Torres allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, she could stop fighting and start living. But the victory lasted exactly 36 hours before everything changed again. Agent Reeves called Tank at 6 a.m. on the 3rd morning after Victor's arrest. Her voice was shaking. We've got a problem. A massive problem. Victor's lawyers filed an emergency motion last night. They're arguing that every piece of evidence we collected is inadmissible because it came from an illegal wiretap that you conducted. Tank's blood went cold. We talked about this. You said, I said I'd handle it. But Victor's lawyers are good, really good. They've got affidavits from 3 constitutional law experts saying the surveillance violated federal wiretap statutes. The judge is hearing arguments this afternoon. Tank, if he rules in Victor's favor, everything collapses. The arrests, the charges, all of it. What about Maya's testimony? Sophia's drawings, the ledger, all of it discovered as a result of the illegal wiretap. Fruit of the poisonous tree. The defense is arguing that without the wiretap, we never would have known to look for any of it. That's insane. Maya came to us. She brought us the ledger before we ever wired that conference room. I know, but proving the timeline is going to be difficult. Victor's lawyers are claiming we coached Maya, that we manipulated a traumatized child into making false accusations. And Tank, without the wiretap evidence, it's our word against theirs. Tank closed his eyes. When's the hearing? To PM Federal Courthouse in Denver. And Tank, you need to be there because if this goes south, Maya's going to need you. The courthouse was packed. Media everywhere. Protesters on both sides of the steps. People holding signs that said protect our children on one side and innocent until proven guilty on the other. Tank walked through the chaos with Maya beside him. She was wearing a dress Mama Bear had bought her. Her hair was brushed. Her wrist was in a proper cast now. She looked like any other 12-year-old girl. But her eyes told a different story. Old eyes, tired eyes, eyes that had seen too much. "I don't want to go in there," Maya whispered. "I don't want to see him again." "You don't have to. The hearing is just about the evidence. You're not testifying today. But what if the judge says the evidence is bad? What if Uncle Victor goes free? Then we find another way. We don't stop fighting. Not ever." Inside the courtroom, Victor sat at the defense table in an expensive suit. His lawyers flanked him like guards. He looked calm, confident, like a man who knew he was about to win. When he saw Maya walk in, he smiled. It was the smallest smile, just the corner of his mouth turning up. But Maya saw it, and she grabbed Tank's hand so hard her knuckles went white. "He knows," Maya whispered. "He knows he's going to get away with it." Judge Harold Chen, no relation to Dr. Raymond Chen, thankfully, entered the courtroom. He was 72 years old, appointed to the federal bench 40 years ago. Known for being strict about constitutional law, "We're here on the matter of United States versus Victor Castellano," Judge Chen said. "Defense has filed a motion to suppress all evidence obtained as a result of electronic surveillance conducted on February 20th. Let's hear arguments." Victor's lead attorney stood up. Marcus Devlin, 60 years old, partner at the biggest law firm in New York, the kind of lawyer who cost $5,000 an hour and was worth every penny. "Your Honor, this case represents a clear and egregious violation of the Fourth Amendment. The defendants, and I use that term loosely because the real defendants here are the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, conducted illegal surveillance of my client's private business meeting. They did so without a warrant, without probable cause, and without any legal authority whatsoever." He pulled out documents. "Every piece of evidence the government has used to justify these arrests stems from that illegal wiretap. The financial records were obtained because of information learned during the surveillance. The witness statements were gathered because of leads developed from the wiretap. Even the testimony of the minor children was coached based on information the FBI learned from the illegal recording." Judge Chen looked at Agent Reeves. "Is this accurate? Did law enforcement have any evidence prior to the wiretap?" Agent Reeves stood. "Your Honor, we had the testimony of Maya Torres. She came to the Hells Angels of her own accord, seeking protection. She brought with her a ledger that documented, a ledger that law enforcement never saw until after the wiretap." Devlin interrupted. "A ledger that conveniently appeared at exactly the right moment to justify the arrests. Your Honor, the timeline speaks for itself. The Hells Angels conducted illegal surveillance. Then they manufactured evidence to make that surveillance seem justified. This is textbook fruit of the poisonous tree." Tank felt Maya trembling beside him. He put his arm around her shoulders. Judge Chen was reading through documents. His expression was unreadable. "Mr. Devlin," the judge said finally, "are you arguing that the children's testimony is also inadmissible?" "I'm arguing that the children were manipulated by adults with an agenda. Maya Torres is 12 years old. She's been through significant trauma. She's vulnerable to suggestion. And she's been in the custody of a motorcycle gang for 2 weeks. Your Honor, it's entirely possible, probable even, that she's been coached to say exactly what these people want her to say." Maya stood up. Tank tried to stop her, but she pulled away. "I'm not lying," Maya said. Her voice was shaking, but clear. "Nobody coached me. Nobody told me what to say. I saw what Uncle Victor did. I heard what he said. And Sophia drew it all. Every single thing." Judge Chen looked at her. "Young lady, you need to sit down. This is not your time to speak." "But he's saying I'm a liar. He's saying I made it all up. And that's not true. None of it's true." "Maya," Tank said gently. "Sit down, please." But Maya was crying now. "I walked 11 miles through a blizzard with my sister on my back because Uncle Victor was going to sell her. I broke my wrist climbing out a window. I stole his ledger because I knew nobody would believe me without proof. And now his lawyer is saying I made it all up. That I'm just some stupid kid who doesn't know what's real." Devlin stood. "Your Honor, this outburst proves my point. This child is emotionally unstable. She's unreliable. That child, a voice said from the back of the courtroom, saved 41 other children from being trafficked. Everyone turned. A woman was standing in the doorway, 50 years old, wearing an FBI jacket. "Agent Reeves," Judge Chen said, "you're out of order. I apologize, Your Honor, but I need to submit new evidence. Evidence that has nothing to do with the wiretap. Evidence that proves everything Maya Torres has said is true." She walked forward with a folder. "Yesterday, one of Victor Castellano's associates, a man named Marcus Webb, gave us access to encrypted servers we didn't know existed. These servers contain records going back 7 years, financial transactions, communication logs, video footage from inside the facilities. But this," she held up a drawing, "this is what Sofia Torres drew the day after she saw the accident reported on television. It shows 2 cars, one pushing the other off the road, and it shows a license plate number that matches the vehicle registered to Victor Castellano at that time." The courtroom went absolutely silent. A 6-year-old autistic child, Agent Reeves continued, drew evidence of murder 2 years ago. She drew it because that's how she processes information. She draws everything she sees, and what she saw was Victor Castellano murdering a woman who threatened to expose him. Devlin was on his feet. "Your Honor, a child's drawing is not evidence. It is when that child has documented photographic memory." Agent Reeves interrupted. "We had Sophia evaluated by 3 separate experts. All of them confirmed that she has a condition called hyperthermesia, combined with autism. She remembers everything she sees with perfect clarity. Every news report, every conversation she overhears, every face, every license plate, every detail." She pulled out more drawings. "These are pictures Sophia drew of other children at the academy. Children we've now identified as trafficking victims. She drew their faces, their names, the dates they arrived, and the dates they disappeared. She created a visual record of Victor's entire operation, without even knowing she was doing it." Judge Chen was staring at the drawings spread across his bench. "How many drawings are there?" "For 172 spanning 3 years. Every single one corresponds to real events, real people, real crimes, Your Honor. This child's artwork is the most comprehensive evidence of human trafficking we've ever encountered. And it has nothing to do with any wiretap. It exists because Maya Torres had the courage to save these drawings and bring them to people who would listen." Devlin was sweating. "Now, Your Honor, even if we accept these drawings as legitimate, it doesn't change the fact that the wiretap was illegal. The arrests were based on a 7-year pattern of criminal activity documented by an autistic child who draws the truth," Agent Reeves said. "The wiretap just confirmed what we already knew from Sophia's drawings. We would have made these arrests with or without that surveillance. The wiretap was simply the catalyst that made us look at evidence that had been sitting in Maya Torres' bedroom for 3 years." Judge Chen removed his glasses. He cleaned them slowly. "Put them back on, Mr. Devlin," he said. "I'm denying your motion." The courtroom erupted. Devlin jumped up. "Your Honor, you can't." "I can and I am. The evidence shows that law enforcement had probable cause independent of the wiretap. The drawings, the ledger, the witness testimony from Maya Torres, all of it predates the surveillance. The wiretap may have been illegal, but it was not the foundation of this case. The foundation of this case is a 12-year-old girl who refused to let her sister become another victim, and the 6-year-old girl who documented crimes without even knowing she was doing it." He looked at Victor. "Mr. Castellano, your trial is scheduled for 6 months from today. Until then, you will remain in federal custody without bail." Motion denied. Victor's face went from confident to white in seconds. He stood up. "This is a travesty. I have rights. You have the right to remain silent," Judge Chen said. "I suggest you exercise it." The bailiffs led Victor away. As he passed Maya's seat, he stopped. "This isn't over," he whispered. "My lawyers will appeal. I'll be out in a year." Maya looked up at him. No fear in her eyes anymore. Just something that looked like pity. "No," she said quietly. You won't, because Sophia drew everything and now everyone knows what you are. 6 months later, Victor Castellano was convicted on 47 counts, including human trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy to commit murder, and first-degree murder in the death of Jennifer Park. He was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Judge Patricia Marino received 38 years. Dr. Raymond Chen received 25. Sheriff Dale Kramer received 32. 17 other members of the network received sentences ranging from 15 to 40 years. But the real victory came 3 weeks after the trial ended. Tank got a call from Mama Bear. "Get to the courthouse now. Judge Harrison wants to see you and the girls." When Tank arrived, Maya and Sophia were already in the judge's chambers. Judge Sarah Harrison was 61 years old, known for being tough, but fair. She presided over hundreds of custody cases and never once made a decision lightly. "Mr. Morrison," Judge Harrison said, "thank you for coming. Maya, Sophia, I've asked you all here because I've made a decision about your permanent placement." Maya's hand found Sophia's. They were both holding their breath. "I've reviewed the recommendations from Agent Reeves, from Dana Whitfield, from your therapists, and from the children's advocates assigned to your case, and I've read every letter sent to this court on your behalf. Do you know how many letters I received?" Maya shook her head. 743 from people all over the country. People who heard your story and wanted to make sure I knew that you deserved a family who would protect you, who would fight for you, who would never let you down. Judge Harrison pulled out a document. "Maya, you're 12 years old. In Colorado, children over the age of 12 have the right to express their preference in custody matters. So, I'm going to ask you directly, where do you want to live?" Maya looked at Tank, then at Mama Bear, then at Sophia. "I want to stay with Mama Bear," Maya said. "She's been taking care of us. She's the only adult who's never lied to me. And I want Tank and the Hells Angels to be able to visit whenever they want because they're family, too." Judge Harrison smiled. "That's exactly what I was hoping you'd say. Dana Whitfield, please stand." Mama Bear stood, tears already streaming down her face. "Miss Whitfield, I'm granting you full legal custody of Maya and Sophia Torres, effective immediately. Adoption proceedings will begin in 30 days. And Mr. Morrison, the Hells Angels are hereby designated as extended family with unlimited visitation rights." Mama Bear collapsed into a chair, sobbing. Maya threw her arms around her. Sophia climbed into Mama Bear's lap and pressed her face against her shoulder. Tank had to turn away. His eyes were burning. "There's one more thing," Judge Harrison said. "Maya, you asked in your petition if Sophia could have special accommodations for school. I reviewed her evaluations. I'm ordering the school district to provide her with an art-based communication program and a full-time aide who specializes in autism and hyperthermesia. Your sister is going to get every resource. She needs to succeed." Maya was trying too hard to speak. She just nodded. Judge Harrison stood and walked around her desk. She crouched down in front of the girls. "Maya, Sophia, I want you to know something. You're not victims anymore. You're survivors. You're heroes. You exposed a trafficking network that operated for 7 years. You saved 41 other children. You brought down corrupt officials at every level of government, and you did it by being brave enough to knock on a door at midnight and trust that someone would answer." She looked at Tank and Mr. Morrison. "The Hells Angels have proven something I didn't think was possible. You've proven that sometimes the people society fears the most are the ones who care the most. Thank you for opening that door." Tank's voice was rough. "We'd do it again anytime, any day. I know you would. That's why I'm also ordering the creation of the Maya Protocol. Any child in Colorado who reports abuse or trafficking will now have access to a special advocate who is not part of the traditional system. Someone who will listen. Someone who will believe them. Someone who will fight for them the way you fought for these girls." She handed Maya a document. "This is the legislation. It passed the state senate last week. It's named after you because you changed everything. 3 months after the adoption was finalized, Maya stood in front of the Colorado State Legislature. She was 13 now, taller, stronger, but still small enough that she needed a step stool to reach the microphone. "My name is Maya Torres," she said, "and 2 years ago, I watched my uncle murder my mother. 1 year ago, I heard him plan to sell my sister to human traffickers. And 11 months ago, I walked 11 miles through a blizzard to knock on the door of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club because I had nowhere else to go." She looked out at the room full of politicians, advocates, and reporters. "People ask me why I didn't go to the police, why I didn't tell a teacher, why I didn't call social services. And the answer is simple. I did. I told everyone, and nobody listened because I was just a kid. And kids aren't taken seriously, especially kids in the system." Her voice got stronger. But the Hells Angels listened. 97 people who didn't know me, who had no reason to care, who risked everything to protect me and my sister. They listened. They believed us. They fought for us. And because of them, 41 other children are free. 163 families of justice and a trafficking network that operated for 7 years is destroyed. She held up the legislation. The Maya Protocol says that every child who reports abuse gets an advocate outside the system, someone who isn't overworked, isn't underpaid, isn't beholden to politics or budgets, someone whose only job is to believe that child and fight for them. Because if one 12-year-old girl can bring down an empire, imagine what happens when we actually listen to all of them. The legislature gave her a standing ovation. But Maya wasn't done. "I want to say one more thing. The Hells Angels aren't heroes because they're bikers. They're heroes because they're human. They saw children in danger and they acted. That's not bravery. That's basic humanity. And if 97 motorcycle riders can do that, then so can everyone else in this room. So can everyone watching this. So can every person who sees a child who needs help." She looked directly at the camera. "If you're a kid who's scared, who's being hurt, who has nowhere to go, knock on someone's door, any door. Keep knocking until someone answers, because somewhere out there is a person who will listen, who will believe you, who will fight for you. You just have to be brave enough to ask." She stepped down from the microphone. Tank was waiting at the bottom of the steps. He pulled her into a hug. "You did good, kid. I learned from the best." Sophia was waiting in the front row. She'd drawn a picture of Maya standing at the microphone. At the bottom, in her careful lettering, was one word: brave. 5 years later, Maya Torres graduated high school at the top of her class. She'd been accepted to 7 universities. She chose the one with the best criminal justice program because she wanted to be a prosecutor, wanted to put people like Victor away for the rest of their lives. Sophia was 11 now, still nonverbal, but she'd learned sign language and she communicated through her art. Her drawings had been featured in 3 galleries. The FBI used them as training materials, and she'd helped identify 17 additional trafficking victims through her visual memory. Mama Bear had adopted 6 more children in the years since Maya and Sophia. Her house was always full, always loud, always home. And the Hells Angels, they'd answered 43 code black calls in 5 years. 43 children pulled from danger. 43 families given hope, because a 12-year-old girl had knocked on their door at midnight and shown them what they were really meant to be. On the day of Maya's high school graduation, Tank rode up to Mama Bear's house on his Holly. 97 motorcycles followed him, the same 97 who'd ridden through the night 5 years ago. Maya walked out in her cap and gown. She looked at all of them and started crying. "You all came." "Of course we came," Tank said. "Your family. We'll always come." Sophia handed Maya a drawing. It showed a door opening, a little girl standing on one side, and on the other side 97 people with their arms open. At the top, "The night everything changed." At the bottom, "Thank you for opening the door." Maya held the drawing against her chest. "I don't know what would have happened to us if you hadn't answered that night." Tank put his hand on her shoulder. "But we did answer, and we always will. That's what family does. That night, as the celebration wound down, Maya stood on Mama Bear's porch, watching the motorcycles line up to leave. Sophia was asleep inside. Mama Bear was cleaning up, and Maya had a moment alone to think about everything that had happened. 5 years ago, she'd been a terrified child with no options and no hope. Now she was a high school graduate with a full scholarship and a future that felt limitless. All because she'd been brave enough to knock Tank walked over. "You okay?" "Yeah, just thinking about that night, about how scared I was, about how I almost didn't knock because I thought you'd turn us away, but you did knock, because I had to, because Sophia needed me to be brave." Tank looked at her. This girl who'd become a young woman, who'd survived trauma that would have destroyed most adults, who'd changed laws and saved lives and shown the world what courage really looked like. "Maya, you saved yourself. Never forget that. We just made sure you had backup. You gave me more than backup. You gave me proof that good people exist, that family isn't about blood, that sometimes the scariest looking people are the ones with the biggest hearts." She hugged him. "Thank you for everything, for being there when nobody else was, for believing me when nobody else did, for showing me that I was worth fighting for." Tank's voice was rough. "Kid, you were always worth fighting for." The whole world just needed to open their eyes and see it. As the last motorcycle pulled away, Maya looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there were other kids in danger, other children who felt like they had nowhere to turn, other families being torn apart by people who were supposed to protect them. But now there was hope. Now there was the Maya Protocol. Now there were 97 Hell's Angels who would ride through any storm for any child who needed them. And now there was proof that sometimes all it takes to change the world is a 12-year-old girl brave enough to knock on a door at midnight and a group of bikers brave enough to answer. Because heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they wear leather. Sometimes they have tattoos and scars and pasts they're not proud of. Sometimes they're the last people anyone expects. But when a child knocks on their door in a blizzard, bleeding and desperate and carrying her baby sister on her back, they open it. They let her in. They protect her. They fight for her. And they never ever let her down. That's not heroism. That's humanity. And it changes everything.